Final hour overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. Bryan Hayes, Frankie Corrado, TSN 1050. Your home smart speaker up on TSN 2 now. Bobby Marks will join us of ESPN. Awfully quiet in the NBA right now, yet it could break loose at any point. Damian Lillard, we still believe, will be flipped at some point. James Harden, I believe, his outstanding trade request is still just that. It's outstanding. He wants out. And Pascal Siakam has not signed an extension last time I checked, which means he could still be flipped.
There's money being thrown around, though.
Big time.
Holy, man.
Jaylen Brown, $305 million.
I know, like, revenues are going up, and that has to do with contracts, but I didn't have Jaylen Brown, who's a very good player. I didn't have him signing the richest contract on my bingo card.
No, it's like that's a trivia question now. Like, who was the first guy to hit the supermax, new CBA, new revenue type deal? Because 3 or 4 years from now, he'll be way down the list.
He's like a what? He's a top 20 player, like somewhere between 15 and 20?
Yeah.
Would be accurate for
probably
him?
in that range, 15 to 25.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not a top 10 player.
He's a second team NBA, right?
Yes. Yeah. He's a number 2 on his own team, and I think he'd be a number 2 on most elite teams in the NBA.
Right.
Right? Like there are teams where he would go there and he'd be the number 1 dog for sure. But I think it's Tatum's team, and Brown is right there with him. But yeah, he's a really good player.
Yeah.
He's a really, really good player. But it's a massive amount of money. And speaking of which, you see the reports coming out of Europe that Kylian Mbappe is going to turn down that big offer in Saudi Arabia.
He is.
Apparently, he's not going to accept that $776 million.
Do they counter with more money?
That's a great question. Or are they still there a year or two from now saying, whenever you're ready, this is just an open invite. $1 billion whenever you want to come.
Yeah. I don't know if they're that supple in their negotiations. I wonder if it's like, this is it, and don't ever
you would think
contact us again.
You'd think you'd get the message.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you be insulted a little bit if
That's
some guy
what I'm
turned
saying.
down $1 billion, basically?
Turn down $700 and something million and just leave the door open. All right, let us know when you're ready. Like, no, man, this you're in or you're in the way.
Right, exactly. And I guess people in Paris are believing, in PSG in particular, believing that he's already worked out a deal with Real Madrid. He's going to go to Madrid. So, man, Spain's got some rock stars over the years, don't they?
He's going to make a lot of money regardless. He doesn't need to go to Saudi. Like $700 million, $400 million. I know it's a lot of money, but is that making the difference in the way this guy lives his life?
Right.
Not really.
And he's in his prime. He's competitive.
He's going to make a lot of money, man.
Exactly. Like, why would you want to go to a league filled with guys you've never heard of before, no teams, with no history, nothing?
And like we talked about it on Monday, like, who knows what that entails? Like, who knows what you're going there, what you got to do, what that whole thing entails. At least you know you're going to Madrid.
Yeah.
You're living a normal soccer player's life without any strings attached or minimal strings attached, just whatever comes with being a professional athlete.
You're following in the footsteps of what Ronaldo did and others that have played, at Madrid over. You know exactly what it is. It's a team steeped in history.
Yeah.
The team that's competing to win. You're going to try to win La Liga. You're going to be involved in Champions League every single year. It's
this guy's
one of the 4 or 5 great clubs in the world.
His path is going to be, he's going to go to Madrid. Maybe at some point he goes to Juventus. Maybe plays in the English Premier League. Like, that's what it's going to look like. And he's going to make hundreds of millions of dollars doing it.
Yes, he absolutely
doesn't need to go to Saudi Arabia.
Right. He'll be okay.
He'll be just fine.
In the end, he'll be okay.
And then in 15 years, you know where he ends up?
MLS?
Inter Miami.
You think he heads down to Miami? At that point, Messi's got ownership. Beckham's got ownership.
One of those teams. Miami, New York, L.A.,
yeah.
Toronto?
Possibly. We got to get like a big celebrity attached to the ownership of Toronto FC.
Andy Petrillo.
Andy. There's your answer.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Andy sitting there, like, pitch side with Kylian Mbappe here in 12 years?
I want Andy with, like, those funky looking hats that the really rich celebrities wear, like gaudy outfit, shades on at all times, sitting in the sidelines.
I think she'd pull that off pretty well. I think Andy would be happy to do that.
Oh, yeah.
I think Andy would happily accept that role.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to be the ambassador for ownership for Toronto FC, and you need to find a way to get Kylian Mbappe here
Done.
In 10 years.
And he's very persuasive.
Yeah, she can be.
We'll figure it out.
Absolutely. I think it was Chris Mannix was writing yesterday that the NBA has reasons to fear the Saudi Arabian money that's out there. And they technically do have a professional basketball league, but who's going there? Right? Like, who's going there,
Frankie? We got to start qualifying like the word professional when it comes to the Saudis and what their leagues entail. It could be the equivalent of like your local gymnasium men's league.
But if they're paying like $1 billion to bring someone over, then all of a sudden, that becomes a different story. We saw the LeBron tweet a couple of days ago. Here is longtime ESPN NBA front office insider. He was working in the NBA ranks for a long time as well. Bobby Marks back on OverDrive. If the Saudi Pro Basketball League actually legitimately started throwing money at some big players in the States, do you think any of them would listen, Bobby?
I think they would listen. I just think what's the competition level? I think it's terrible. A little bit different with soccer compared to, you get two guys making $500 million, but who else is going to be there? And I love Chris Mannix. He's like one of my best friends, but I think we're like 10 years away from that ever happening with Saudi money here. And yeah, it's interesting. They haven't, at least I haven't heard, them tapping into the NBA, and we see it with golf and certainly with soccer. I haven't seen it with the NBA route in the direction here. Was it guys when they're like 38, 39, they want one more big crack at it and they're going to give them $500 million? Sure. If they want someone to go over and cover, I'll take 100, I'm fine with that.
There you go.
But yeah, I don't see it right now. I think it's something maybe more down the road.
Yeah, and again, I don't think it's really about competition based on my understanding. It's just simply about the splash. I think it's just about the Saudis saying, we got that guy, and now he's over here. And even if he's playing against school children, they're happy to pay the money.
Better pick up games in Brooklyn. Guaranteed.
Right.
Guaranteed.
It does, the competition of the scoreboard, I don't think really matters. What matters is player X now lives there and operates there and works there. But I'm with you. I don't think it's a part of the future. And listen, if you're Jaylen Brown, you may not need the Saudis, right? You get $305 million to play in the NBA. It's a deal we knew was coming. I'm not sure anyone knew that. I guess Brown was the first guy to kind of qualify for it, but this is just the new NBA, is it not?
It's amazing. You're right. We knew it was coming. He met the criteria when he made All NBA. The cap, the 304 number is a projection number. That's the most. It could go down to 285. Still, it's a big number. It's amazing. Like Twitter caught on fire yesterday. I felt like saying, did you not think it was coming? I think I was more surprised. We're in the end of July and it hadn't been agreed to yet. And yeah, it's the economics of the NBA right now. He met the criteria. There's never been a player who's met the criteria who hasn't gotten it. The only guy was Kawhi, and he has to be traded from San Antonio. I think it's more about like, all right, he got it. Now, how does it impact? I heard today what's going to happen with Jason Tatum? Well, Jason Tatum's going to get $338 million next year. Because he's already met the criteria. Now it's just a matter of can you build a roster around these two players and with this new CBA? And if you can't, I think you can pivot from Jaylen Brown next year or the year after if you want to here. But I always thought Jaylen Brown was going to get, just because I didn't think you can go into a year where he's on an expiring contract and, there'll be turmoil and what happens with Brown, then you're going to have to trade him. And I just think you do it. You figure it out a year from now if you can be traded or maybe you want a championship here. But it's just the economics of the CBA with this this cap continually rise. The league teams have spent $4.6 billion this summer. It's a huge number. So teams are still willing to spend on players who are 25, 26 years old.
Yeah.
And who's the next one to eclipse that? Like, who's going to be coming up? And we're saying next year, it's like, well, he eclipsed it this summer.
Could be Siakam, right? If he hits the right marks.
Yeah, Tatum's going to be the guy. Because he's already hit the criteria because he's earned All NBA 2 years in a row, and it's 338. That's the number.
Yeah,
that's next year.
Wild.
So Jaylen for this year, for the next 11 months, will be the highest paid player. or biggest contract, and then who's going to be the $400 million guy 5 years? Is it Luka? Potentially, maybe. There's always going to be, there's always going to be that next player out there. Just as the cap continually increases and players hit these milestones of being named All NBA, there's going to be that guy.
So you mentioned it, Bobby, that if anything, it took you by surprise and maybe others by surprise, like why that specific date was the date where it got signed and Jaylen Brown got that deal. I guess the same line of thinking applies here to the Damian Lillard sweepstakes or the song and dance if it truly is just Portland and Miami. We're into July. We still have a couple months before really the preseason begins, 2.5 months before they tip off on the real stuff. So there's no time crunch right now. But should we be bracing for anything in particular? Like, do you have a date in mind where you feel like something's got to give on this Damian Lillard situation?
The day after Labor Day. So that's, I don't know, early September, that Tuesday around there. Mm-hmm. I just think, like, we're in this period, we're going to go into August. I always joke, when we work in the front office, we get married or have kids in August. That's usually what happens, right? Like, we shut it down. It's like, it's like being in Italy and having, like, shutting down for the afternoon here. I just think there's no urgency from Portland's perspective. Certainly, with Miami, they're kind of, a holding pattern. I just think what will happen is that when we get into early September, there's going to be a realization that training camp is going to be starting in like 3 weeks. And if you're Damian Lillard, you're thinking, wait a minute, like, all right, I've enjoyed my summer, but I want to know where I'm playing. I want to be in Miami. And then you start to maybe make things a little more uncomfortable here. Or if you're Miami, if you're not willing to give up as much as you are right now, maybe you are a month from now here. So I think it's right after Labor Day. I think it's early September where maybe we start to get things in motion more. That's Donovan Mitchell got traded. I was driving to my son's swim meet when he got traded on like a Tuesday afternoon, and that was in early September here. So I think I'd be surprised if we see any action in him, Harden. Certainly James Harden is probably a little bit different in August here, and I think once we get into early September, I think we probably start seeing things pick up a little bit.
A little closer to home here in Toronto, if Pascal Siakam is all NBA, like what is he eligible for, and how is that going to affect like his trade market, trade value, or likelihood of being traded?
304. He gets the Jaylen Brown contract. That's what the numbers. He's extension eligible right now for 192. That's a max. That's a big number. It's a max number here. If he plays it out and he earns all NBA, it's 5 for 304, which he would be eligible to sign with in Toronto, and that's only Toronto. If he's traded during the year, that goes away. I think I don't think you can get into a situation where you lost Fred for nothing. You signed Schroeder as basically a stopgap. You basically got to pick a direction where you want to go. With him and OG is a little bit different because you're limited as far as what you can extend him. As far as is he the guy or is it Scotty that? And if it's not Pascal, then be comfortable moving him. You don't have to do anything right now, but the guy's on an expiring contract and has basically kind of made it known through other channels that, hey, I'm not going to extend if I get traded to another team. And then that hurts Toronto's leverage a little bit in negotiations here. But, yeah, I mean, I think I'd be comfortable for 4 for 192 for him. I mean, 304 is a huge number. But that's basically the situation if he does earn all NBA.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like a scenario where Masai and the Raptors would be comfortable going into a season without him extended. Like it just, and at the same point, like you pointed out, that's a massive amount of money. He's gambling on himself to be all NBA. There's no guarantees. They may not be a great team. They got a new coach. They got a reworked, reshaped backcourt. I think they're probably in the mix to be a playoff team in the East. Anywhere between 6 and 10 still seems likely. They were 9th in the East last year. But that doesn't guarantee you all NBA, but it's probably worth betting on yourself if you're Pascal. But like you said, having just gone through this Fred VanVleet song and dance, I can't imagine Masai would be comfortable with that. So, if he got flipped, how crazy could it look? And like how much of a market would you be expecting out there for Pascal Siakam?
I think if he gets flipped, it has to be early because I think if you're a team that wants to acquire him, you've got basically a year to sell him on, even if he doesn't extend with you. And certainly you inherit his bird rights and you can pay him more. I think it's a little more challenging if you do something closer to February because you only have 3 or 4 months with him. And it's a matter of kind of what you gave up. I think I'd be concerned if I was Toronto and I offer him 4 for $192 and he turned it down. Mm-hmm. Because there's, as you said, there's no guarantee you make All NBA, and there's no guarantee that you have to offer him that. It's up to whatever 3. You can certainly negotiate, up to that number here. But that would be, if there's no extension, if he wants to bypass on the max extension, not the super max. That I would have somewhat of a concern if he wants to play the season out.
Well, we'll leave it there, Bobby. It's great having you on, man, especially considering how quiet it is, but trying to get details on what's going on and what could possibly happen between now and the next couple of months. Enjoy the rest of the summer. We'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
You got it. Bobby Marks of ESPN. Yeah, like you said, August gets real quiet. So if Lillard's not flipped, if Harden isn't flipped, if Siakam's not signed or flipped, like it's the time will come once we get into September and you realize camp is about to open. Something's got to give.
Yeah.
Because does Damian Lillard report if he hasn't been flipped? Does James Harden report? Pascal will for sure. Like he wants to be here. But
Lillard's an interesting one because he's been so loyal to them. He's been so loyal for so long, and finally he's at the point where he's like, I'm out, and it's Miami. Mm-hmm. They got to make it, like, I don't know if they have to make it happen, but they have to try to make it happen at least.
At this point, I think you turn the page on him, but do you have to send him to Miami is a different story.
Right.
But we've been through this. How many teams are willing to accept possibly a malcontent? Some guy that shows up and isn't exactly happy to be there.
You know how after the Leafs lose every year, it's like the same script? You could go back throughout the years. You could say, oh, this is what I said in 2017. This is what I said in 2018, on and on and on, right? I feel like with James Harden, it's like we get to this point, not every year, but it seems like every year where it's like, oh, James Harden wants to go somewhere else. What are we saying about James Harden this year?
And like, what does this guy really want? Like, what does he want? Because
it's a great question.
He's played with some great players, starting his career in Oklahoma City with Durant and Westbrook. Serge Ibaka is a 4th. Goes to Houston, has Chris Paul playing with him, among other great players. Obviously in Brooklyn, he's got KD and Kyrie. Say what you want about Kyrie. He's a great player, great talent. Now he's teaming up with Joel Embiid. And that's not good enough. Now maybe you want to go to the LA Clippers and team up with Kawhi and Paul George.
Kawhi doesn't play.
Why? Yeah, exactly.
Bro, Kawhi, he's not playing.
He's probably not playing, and
well, not that he's not playing. It's just he's not available to be an impact player the way he can be.
Right, and Paul George not far off.
Yeah,
coming off really injury-riddled season and a half. Like the guy he's like a goldfish.
It's
like
so weird,
and
I don't
changes his mind or has no idea what he wants or where he's going. He's just floating through, demanding trades every year and a half.
There's no denying the talent, especially when he's in shape and he's on his game, but. Are you eager to bring that guy in? Doesn't seem like it because he hasn't moved yet.
Right. And what kind of commitment are you going to get from the guy? If he's there for 3 months and doesn't want to be there anymore, is he going to demand out again?
There's a few guys like that.
There happen to be a few guys like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's played with some of them.
Yes, he certainly has. All right. We're going to get to a draft here. We're going to get creative, Frankie. And you're going to have to get calculated, man, because we're going to put a salary cap on this based on all of the players on the 7 Canadian teams, 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goalie. All right, a lot of NHL content today. We figured let's close with something a little bit different. We'll get into it a little bit more. We'll explain it. We're going to have a snake draft breaking down what we think would be the best team money can buy based on Canadian teams. Frankie Corrado in here. I'm Bryan Hayes. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Frankie, it's go time here. All right? We've been talking a lot about contracts today because Sebastian Aho got an 8-year deal, $9.75 million. That's an extension. He still has 1 year left down in Carolina. So he's basically locked up for 9 years down there. That's tidy work, I think, for the Hurricanes. And I think if you're Aho, you're happy. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of commitment. It's all good. We talked about Aaron Rodgers giving money back. Apparently, He's given back $35 million in guarantees.
Out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah, he's
to
just
have
a
a
good
winning
Samaritan.
team. He's just a good guy,
Right.
and he wants everyone around him to be happy and win.
Yeah. Wouldn't
You
give
guys
back
take
a
the money.
penny in Green Bay. Wouldn't do anything for anyone in Green Bay. But now he's Mr. Good Teammate and Mr. Good Samaritan.
Yep.
Isn't that great for the New York Jets?
Yeah.
So good for Aaron Rodgers. Justin Herbert getting paid. A lot of people getting paid. We're talking about Jaylen Brown getting paid. All right, so we're going to take that line of thinking, and we're going to allow for the rosters of the 7 Canadian teams, all these players at their current cap hit. This is building a team for 1 year. This is not taking into consideration if a player has 3 years left, 5, 8. They have a 1-year deal at their current cap hit. We are going to work under the umbrella of a $36 million salary cap.
That's tight. And we're picking 3 forwards.
3 forwards, no positions.
Okay.
Just 3 forwards. You could have 3 centers if you want.
Yeah.
3 forwards, 2 defensemen, 1 goalie.
Oh.
So essentially, the way we came up with $36 million cap hit is 6 players times $6 million. So on average, you have about $6 million per player.
Okay.
Okay, so
All right.
$36 million total to build your best line based on what we have available to us with the 7 Canadian teams. Do you want the first pick?
No,
You don't want
this
the
is
first
your
pick.
show. I want you to have the first pick because I have a feeling you're going to do something really greasy with the first pick, and I want to see it happen.
I think I know what you think I'm going to do, and I don't think I'm going to do that.
Okay.
I think you have a guy in mind that you're thinking I might take, but I'm not.
All
but
right.
I'm also not going to take the guy that I think everyone would collectively think is a lock.
I knew you weren't going to take him.
But I am going to take his teammate, Leon Draisaitl.
You're so greasy.
I'm going to take
You're
Leon
so greasy.
Draisaitl, and the reason I'm taking Draisaitl is not because I think he's better than McDavid. I think McDavid's the best player in the world. I would love to have Connor McDavid on my team. I love McDavid,
Yeah.
but Draisaitl gets paid $8.5 million. Connor gets paid $12.5, and I have a finite number here. And when it comes to playoff performances, I would argue Leon Draisaitl has been a better playoff performer than Connor McDavid collectively throughout their career. Not on any given night necessarily, but this is about the salary cap. I will take Leon Draisaitl at $8.5 million. First pick.
That was going to be my pick.
I knew
if I
it
went
was.
first overall.
I knew
And
it was.
because
you wanted me to take McDavid so you could take Draisaitl.
I thought I was.
That's why I was going to say, go ahead and take it.
No, I thought I was fishing you in, and you couldn't resist. Or you're going to take Matthews because you're a Leaf super fan, but you didn't do it.
No.
And that's
Never.
fine. That's
Never.
fine. You took my guy. He's an animal. I'm
Okay.
a big fan of him.
Go ahead.
So I'm going to take your guy. 87 points last year, 40 goals, cap hit, $6.9 million. William Nylander.
You're taking Bill Nylander with the second pick in this draft. Connor McDavid's still on the board. I understand at 12.5.
I am
That is
working
shocking to
under
me.
certain dollar values here. And it's
Okay.
a snake draft, is it not?
Are we doing a snake? Yeah, but there is no snake because there's only 2 people. Like, it just has to go back and forth, does it not?
Yeah, I figured we'd just be going back and forth.
All right, okay.
I didn't think Frankie was getting back-to-back picks
No,
here.
it's okay.
Oh, we could do that if you want the first pick of the second round.
No, it's okay.
But then it's basically everyone's just taking 2 picks. I mean, a snake is better when you have multiple
Yeah,
players,
okay,
right?
no,
There's
you
only
you
2
go
people.
next. I got Will Nylander at 6.9.
Listen, great
That is
value.
cap friendly. It's good value. And guess
Incredible
what?
value.
Because there's only 2 of us, you can take another player, and there's going to be a really good player coming back to me.
Well,
I'm curious to see where you go here.
I can't believe you just took William Nylander because now here I am. I'm staring at McDavid. Like I'm staring at him, but what is the rest of my lineup going to look like if I invest $23 million in 2 players? That'll leave me $13 million for 4 more players. Like I might have Timothy Lillard on my defense if I do that. So I'm not going to do that. But you know what I am going to do? Because we had a conversation off the air earlier, and this is what shocks me, considering the position you played. I'm going to take Quinn Hughes.
Good pick.
Quinn Hughes at $7.8 million.
I like
There is
that pick.
not a lot of high-end talent on the defense corps in
There's
this
not.
country. Quinn
There's
Hughes
not.
is an absolute stud at $7.8 million. I will take Quinn Hughes.
I'll tell you what, that's a good pick, and that would have been my next pick.
Okay.
But because there's no stud on defense, I need a centerman. And I need a centerman at a decent cap hit.
Okay.
And I'm going to the nation's capital. and I'm talking to my good friend Timmy Stützle.
You're taking Tim Stützle.
At $8.35 million. He had 39 goals last year and 90 points. I bet that's a quiet 90 points, isn't it?
That would be a very quiet 90 points.
But guess what? He's on my team now, and he's going to get more than 90 points this year.
I am shocked by what you're doing over there because I honestly, I can't figure you out.
I'm at 15 million with 2 players.
You got a lot of room.
I'm grooving.
You got a lot of room.
I'm grooving. I love my team right now. I got Nylander and Stützle.
Okay. You're going to open the door for me because, again, what's wild about this is it's becoming clear McDavid's probably not going. Matthews probably not going because of the finite number. Maybe you have enough money to add them in the end. And, and now you can probably work backwards because of the way things are working out. I'm currently sitting at $16.3 million, which gives me about, $20 million to work with still, give or take. I'm asking you to do the math for me.
Wait, what's our salary cap?
36 million. 36 million.
So you've got a smidge under 20 million to work with.
Yeah. See, this is amazing how quickly you kind of get a little bit tight under the collar.
Capologist Brian Hayes here.
Yeah, quickly here. I'm a guy that believes in building the defense core. I'm going to take Josh Morrissey at $6.25 million.
Sure.
Josh Morrissey at $6.25 million. That means I have Quinn Hughes and Josh Morrissey. I would argue probably the 2 best defensemen in the country.
That's if we were doing this, let's say I got to pick 3, you got to pick 2, no salary cap. I would say those are the 2 best D-men in the country.
Okay. There you go. So I'm sitting there with Leon Draisaitl up the middle of the ice for me, Josh Morrissey and Quinn Hughes on the back end. I don't see how you're going to beat this team, but continue. You have another pick.
I've got a lot of documents here.
I know. This is going to get really confusing.
And I know you think Josh Morrissey's a great player, which he is.
I know.
And he had a great season.
Oh, he was outstanding.
You know who's been consistently a very good defenseman in this league, offensively speaking?
Who's that?
Thomas Chabot.
Yes, he has.
And he's on my team.
You're taking Tom Chabot.
I'm taking Tom Chabot, and I'm going to play him about 33 minutes a night and just run him into the ground against your team.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm Tommy Chabot, and he makes 8 sheets, so that's a little rich.
That's pretty high. That's surprisingly high.
Just like our prime minister said, the budget will balance itself.
Yeah, eventually it all just balances out. All right, now I've got to get really creative here because I'm sitting at $22.5 million, which doesn't leave me with a lot of space. I still need 2 more forwards, and I need a goaltender. This is what I'm saying. I can't get to McDavid.
No, you can't do it.
Like, if I took him or if I took Matthews, I'm looking at 2 guys on the cheap. I can't do that. So the 2 best players in the country are neither of whom are going to be on my team. But you know who I still can pick, who is not paid a ton. And I got to be honest, I'm going through 2 guys here, and I'm kind of having trouble picking which one. I think I'll take the $1 million cap relief. I'll take the guy who's making $1 million less than the other. I'm going to take Elias Pettersson. I will take Elias Pettersson, who has a cap hit of $7.3 million.
Yeah.
Elias Pettersson at 7.3. You are on the clock.
That one, I regret not taking Elias Pettersson.
I am shocked you were taking Stützle over him, if I'm being honest.
I got real jacked up on Tim Stützle in the moment.
Took Timmy Stütz, so it was like, okay,
I
that's
got
an
real
interesting
jacked
pick.
up on that in the moment, and that's okay.
That's fine. He's a good player.
He's a good player.
And that's what matters.
I'm a big fan of his. So I think I'm going to take a defenseman. I would like to have a right-handed shot just to balance things out. As a defenseman who played in the NHL, I know how important that is to have a righty and a lefty.
Yes.
I'm between 2 guys. They play on the same team. I'm going to take the lesser cap hit. He's a pretty good player. Rasmus Anderson makes $4.55 million. $4.55 million.
I don't know what you're doing over there, but it's getting ridiculous. Because you are like my lineup, I have Draisaitl, Pettersson, Morrissey, and Hughes. Now, I'm running out of cash quick. And if you have a lot of money at the end, you can probably load up on your last couple of picks. But to recap, Grappler, what kind of cap hit is Frankie dealing with right now?
Frankie is currently sitting at $27.7 million. Hayes, I've got you at 29.8. You both have two more players to select.
Okay, so
Hayes, you've got a goalie and a forward. Frankie, you need a goalie and a forward.
Okay, so we're both sitting in the same thing. Again, we're going through our draft based on Canadian teams, right? 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, 1 goalie. We have $36 million based on their current cap hit.
You don't think Rasmus Anderson is a
Good player.
top let's talk about right-handed defenseman.
Really good.
Playing on Canadian teams.
Good player.
Not
Really
many.
good player.
It's not many.
No, good player.
$4.5 million.
It's good cap hit,
Really
good
trying
player.
to justify that right now.
Yes, you are. I'm going to have to get a little bit crazy with what I am going to do with my final pick here, but I need to invest in a goaltender, and I want a good one. I don't have a ton of money left. I'm going to take Thatcher Demko at 5 sheets.
All right.
Thatcher. That means I have 3 Vancouver Canucks.
Love the Canucks.
Which is shocking considering I'm actually fairly critical of that team, but I love these individual players.
Yeah.
Love Pedersen, love Hughes, love Demko. So I'm going to add $5 million, and I'm going to have a shade over $1 million left for my final 4. But I have someone in mind.
You might be taking Timothy Lillard.
I've got my two defensemen. I'm all good there. I'm looking at a forward here, Grappler. I got someone in mind. Don't you worry about it.
So Graps, I'm at 27.7. Our salary cap's $36 million.
Yes. And you got 2 more picks.
So I got basically just under $9 million here for 2 picks.
What is that? 8.3 mil. If I'm doing some quick math.
For 2 picks.
All right.
Telling me, and I need a goalie, and I need a forward. Wow.
Good luck.
I put myself in a bit of a jam here. I'm not going to lie.
Seriously in a jam
I put myself in a jam.
Yeah.
I'm going to take, since you went with Demko, I'm going to take a goaltender who's nominated for the Vezina. Just seems like all the time.
Yeah.
Connor Hellebuyck.
That's a good pick.
Connor Hellebuyck.
That is a very, very good pick. And that leaves me with my final pick, my final player. And listen, I have no money to work with. But you know who I'm going to take? Matthew Nyes. Matthew Nyes at $925,000. I believe that makes me cap compliant, Grappler. And I love my team.
You like your team?
I love my team.
With a nifty $275,000 to spare.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
Brandon Pridham on my staff. We're going to work it out. We got some long-term IR stuff we got to get around. But
Grappler, how much can I spend here, buddy?
You can spend $2.2 million.
$2.2 million. Are you kidding
nothing
me?
left. You have nothing left.
Are you kidding me? All right, I got something up my sleeve. Don't you worry. $2.2 million. I don't need much more than that. I just need to locate someone who makes $2.2 million.
You're killing me, Smalls.
You're killing me.
I am.
You can't put Max Domi on there at 3.
No, I can't put Max Domi. That's not a viable option. I got one option on the Montreal Canadiens I'm mulling over.
Yeah.
Friend of the show. Good guy.
Okay.
We'll see. One option on the Jets I'm looking at.
Okay.
And then
you might as well give names here because I'm out. I'm done.
All right, I'm thinking Vlad Namestnikov at $2 million.
Yes.
And Sean Monahan, if he can stay healthy, though.
The back scares me. The back scares
0.70 points per game last year when he's healthy.
Yeah, he looked good.
When he's healthy.
He looked good. Any other rookies you can think of throughout the country that would be Slavkovsky's?
Dude, I'm Pat Quinn. I don't play rookies.
You don't like?
I don't play rookies. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One name that I haven't, or that you haven't mentioned, and maybe that was intentional. You could get Callie Yarncroke at a smooth $2.1 million.
That's right.
I don't want Callie.
Callie's a good player.
I know.
How about Ryan Reeves?
He doesn't. Callie Yarncroke doesn't excite me. I don't know why.
He doesn't excite.
I feel like he's okay. All right. Here's what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to Winnipeg, and I'm going to go with... No, I'm sticking with my guy, Sean Monahan.
You're taking Monahan.
We're not taking into account health. Sean Monahan's a good player.
Okay.
He's my guy.
You're taking Monahan.
Saw him at the Canadian Open. Great guy. Sean Monahan.
Beautiful.
Known him for a long time. Mississauga Rebel.
So you're cap compliant.
Yeah.
You are officially cap compliant. $36 million salary cap. 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goalie based on the 7 Canadian teams and all these players' current salary cap hit. Do you want to recap your team? You like your team?
No, not really.
I got to be honest. I think you really jammed yourself here. When I look at my team, be honest, Grappler, I got Elias Pettersson, Leon Draisaitl, Matthew Nyes, Josh Morrissey, Quinn Hughes, Thatcher, Demko, and I'm cap compliant.
All right.
I don't know if you can beat that team.
I do think those top 4 picks, I mean, especially in Draisaitl and Pettersson, you're getting 2 of the, top 10 forwards in hockey.
Yep.
Top 15 at worst. And then, like you said, 2 of the best,
I think the best Canadian defensemen right now are Morrissey and Hughes. I would say Shabbat's in that running. I think Morgan Riley would be in that running. A couple other guys probably in Calgary. Yeah, I'm trying. Darnell Nurse, I wouldn't include in that. His cap hit's outrageous.
His cap hit is outrageous, and he's not.
No,
he doesn't
and
move
for
the
high
puck
end
the way those
goalies,
guys do.
it's either Hellebuck, who you got, or I think Demko,
or if you believe in Markstrom Yeah.
Okay, who do you got over?
All right, here
Frankie
we go.
C?
I don't mind my team.
Yeah?
I got Will Nylander. He scores 40 in his sleep. Timmy Stützle is a 100-point guy next year. Sean Monahan, just one of those guys. He's a heart and soul guy. He's my guy. Known him for a long time. I know he's going to produce for me.
Okay.
I love my back end.
Dude.
I got a lefty and a righty, and to be honest with you, when they have I don't know how you're going to touch the puck when my back end is.
With Rasmus and Tommy Shabbat?
Rasmus Anderson is an excellent power play guy.
Okay.
Tommy Shabbat, his bread and butter is 5-on-5. So I got an unbelievable power play guy. I got a 5-on-5 guy. And I got the Vezina guy. Like, Connor Hellebuck is a Vezina candidate in his sleep with his eyes closed.
Yes, he is.
And I got him.
Okay. Listen, it's a good team. It's a good team.
I will say this. We did the FanDuel playoff draft right before the playoffs, and I hated my team. Like, I left the studio thinking, like, my team sucks, and I won.
See, I do that with every fantasy pool I'm in. Like, in the moment, and right when I'm done, I'm like, I hate my team. Awful pick. I buckled here.
Yeah.
And you never know how it's going to play out. This is tough because what this proves is it's difficult to do a live draft with a salary cap number on the fly.
On the fly. And
that's what we're doing.
This.
For the purposes of the show, there was no... Like, we understand the numbers and all that, but we were free-flowing here, man. I didn't know who you were picking. You didn't know who I was going to
Rappler
pick.
gave us sheets with the rosters, and we just did it on the fly. I will say this as well. Sometimes you do these drafts like when you're playing, right?
Yeah.
Like 2 captains, you pick your team, we play 3-on-3. You think you're the team that's going to win, and the group of, like, grinders.
Yes.
They beat you.
Absolutely.
Half ice 3-on-3.
Well, I'll be honest.
You got a good team. Draisaitl's my guy. I can't believe you stole him from me.
What sticks out here, and it speaks to the nature of the cap system and how it's complicated the evaluation of the league, even though it shouldn't. Like, if you're talking pure players, obviously McDavid would go first. Matthews would be in there. Marner would be on one of these 2 teams. But their cap hits are so high.
Yeah.
That it makes it difficult to fill out the rest of the roster.
How many players on your team do you don't love?
I mean, Nyes is a rookie, and I don't know what he's going to be.
Yeah.
Like, Draisaitl, Pettersson, Morrissey, Hughes, Demko, I love all those players. Yeah. And my thing is, what I was going to look at was, like, Hyman at $5 million. I had him. I was going to look at him. Brady Tkachuk, I was going to take over Pettersson. It was going to be either Pettersson or Brady.
Yeah.
Brady would have cost another $1 million, and if I did that, I would have been screwed.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I was looking at Brady. I just know I was looking at him more because I know you would have loved to have.
I would have loved to have
because you want to talk about truculence and being in the fight.
And I went with Pettersson.
I know that about you.
I went with Pettersson.
I know.
And
Pettersson's good, man.
Oh, he's outstanding.
He's got to be licking his chops with the Aho contract.
Yeah.
Because Aho comes in at $975. I thought Pettersson is a $10 million player for sure.
Yep.
But now he has another 100-point season. Not only is he a 100-point player, which is far more than Sebastian Aho, he's a Selke guy. Like, he's a top 5 to 7 Selke guy. That guy is the real deal.
Yes.
He could start with an 11. I wouldn't be shocked if it's $1 million more than Aho if he holds up his end of the bargain this year.
If he follows through again and comes up, and you got Rick Tocchet into his full season. There's some roster turnover. I think if Demko stays healthy, that's massive for Vancouver. Like, the idea of them competing next year, I think it starts in net. They got to have a full season out of Demko.
Decor looks better. Hronek will be there. Like, they picked him up. That was a weird trade, but now you can understand it.
Full year out of him.
Good.
Yep.
Ian Cole is...
And Ekman Larsson's gone. Just see you later.
If anything, their budget on the back end is better suited than it was in the past with that Ekman Larsson 8 whatever it was.
Yep.
He's probably a $2-3 million player at this point in his career.
They had
$3 million
to move on.
player.
They had to move on.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Good stuff, man.
All right, there you go, Frankie. Good try.
Rappler, what do you think, buddy?
JP and I were just chatting about it. I don't know how neither of you took Jacob Chychrun at 4.6.
Yeah.
Like that's a guy who's been playing for an awful Coyotes team his entire career and finally, might find his way into a better franchise.
Yeah.
And I just think at 4.6, that would have been
that could be value.
That's a missed
for sure.
opportunity.
I went Rasmus Anderson, just thinking like he's similar production and he's right-handed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, listen, what are you going to do? It's your roster, man.
There's
You
lots
gotta
of
build
good
it up.
players out there, man.
Lots of good players in the country. That's what sticks out. And a lot of high-end guys who, again, their cap hits are so high. But, like, the fact that McDavid, Matthews,
Marner.
like, Huberdeau at 10.5, no one's even looking at.
Kadri, I didn't look at Kadri. Did you?
No, me neither. But Nas at, 7.5?
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of good players in the country. And that's a good thing for Canadian hockey fans. All right, we'll come back and recap what was a busy afternoon. Again, a lot of news in the NFL with signings, NHL with signings. We're tracking the Jays and Dodgers as well, as they have an off day, and some tough news if you were planning to go see Shohei Ohtani pitch this weekend. We'll tell you why next. All right, so if you bought tickets to go see the Jays-Angels series this weekend, and I recall Kara Wagland being in here a week or two ago saying that like months ago, she was trying to map out the rotation for the Angels to try to get the ticket, the golden ticket to see Ohtani actually pitch. And at the time, the way it had mapped out the rotation was going to see him pitch on Sunday. So she and her husband bought tickets for the game on Sunday. Then it became clear after the All-Star break, after they reset some stuff, actually Ohtani was going to pitch on Friday, the opener of the series. So Kara and everyone going on Sunday got stiffed, basically. But if you got tickets on Friday, you're like, this is great. Fell into our lap. Ohtani's going to be on the mound. This is amazing. Well, that's not the case now.
Oh, no.
Not the case, because the Tigers-Angels game has been rained out, and they're going to play a doubleheader tomorrow, and Ohtani is now going to pitch in the first game of the doubleheader tomorrow.
Devastating.
Which means he won't be on the mound at any point over the weekend. And if you got tickets for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to see him hit, but you will not see Ohtani pitch. That sucks.
Is that one of those ones with the dynamic pricing where you see the Angels are coming to town? It's a little more of a pop.
I think on the secondary market, without question.
Yeah.
Like online, like secondary market, people are smart. They realize there's a lot of people searching for this game. Why would that be? Oh, Ohtani's supposed to pitch. Yeah. And you probably already bought the tickets.
Yeah. Now everyone in Toronto is hoping he gets traded, so there's a chance to see him pitch
somewhere else.
At the Dome.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Know.
Maybe he comes up here and pitches.
Although the Angels, they couldn't even have a good team with Trout and Ohtani. Like, they're going to bring in some prospects and they're going to expect to have I don't see why they would see the logic of trading him. If you can't do it with two of the best players in the game, what are you going to do it with some prospects?
Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, maybe the counter to that is we suck anyway. Why pay these guys that much money?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have the answer for you because you're right. It's going to be one of the more fascinating case studies when we look back on this. Like, how were they not better? Like, baseball's a complex sport. Two guys can only get about 10 collective at-bats any game.
Yeah.
We understand that. But you're starting with those guys.
Yeah.
Like, building around them, and you have years to work that out. You can't find the rest of your order and the rest of the rotation and bullpen.
They've added another wild card team, and you still can't get involved in that?
Right. The league's done everything they can to hook you up.
Imagine the Oilers with McDavid and Draisaitl not being relevant.
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Oilers are like, they're a good team.
And they are.
No,
I don't mean, I mean McDavid, Draisaitl,
Oh, it would
Trout,
be,
Ohtani.
it would be the exact same thing. It would be the Oilers being like, oh, they're not even in the wild card
They stink, and they're
spot.
brutal, and people are like, well, you got to trade Draisaitl, or you got to trade McDavid. You stink.
Yeah.
Every single year.
He's not going to re-sign with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
What a dagger that's going to be if Ohtani goes to the Dodgers after all.
Well, the Jays are laying a beating on them right now. The Jays are up 8-1 in the bottom of the 8th. And they had that game last night. Like, that's the thing. Swanson gets torched. You could have walked out of Dodger Stadium with a sweep, assuming they hold here.
Yeah.
And assuming Romano's going to be available. And they shouldn't have to use Romano up 8-1. I don't know who they're going to go to, but there's no reason to pitch
They ain't
him.
going to Mitch White.
Probably not, but this is when you probably need Mitch White.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
Like, if you can't put Mitch White in a game where you're up 8-1, Why is Mitch White even a part of your roster?
8-1, 7-3. Like 7-3, that game's got to be closed out.
Yeah.
Good teams are closing that out.
That's
now,
right.
it can happen once, a couple times throughout the season, but that kind of stuff, like, that's happened a few too many times.
Big time. I guess there's your boy, Yusei Kikuchi. Had himself another great start.
I'm shocked.
Great start. Like Kikuchi's got a 3.79 ERA. He won 6 innings today, gave up 6 hits, 1 earned, 8 Ks, only 2 walks.
Good for
That's
Kikuchi.
a great start against a really good team.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for him.
You
man.
saw it coming. You saw it coming from a mile away.
Well,
you
yeah.
said this guy, he's got the beard, he's got tighter pants,
Yep.
and he's gonna be a good pitcher this year.
That's right. I did make that prediction. Tight
You
pants
said-
and a beard always
You
work
said
for you.
tight pants and a beard, and he's gonna be better than Barrios.
Yeah, well, actually, that's getting close.
Yeah.
Like Barrios has been better. Imagine I said better than Manoah. That would have been a take.
That would have been real hot.
Can you imagine someone had that take? Kikuchi with a beard and tight pants will be better than Manoah.
Yeah, the same Manoah we were talking about last year. How many Cy Youngs? 4
Yeah.
or 5?
Like if you said that in March,
Yeah.
I'm not sure you're allowed back on a microphone.
No.
Yet, here we are. Now, glass half full looking at it today. George Springer 0 for 4.
Yeah, he's in one.
Back. Oh, man, is he in one.
But Bo's back. Bo's
Shat
back,
with 3
man.
hits again today.
Yeah.
We got 4 last night and a home run.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's
One short of the cycle last night.
Yes, he did. He quickly
He did a triple.
He did a triple. You're right.
Yeah.
First 3 at bats, I believe. All right, Frankie, great seeing you, buddy.
You too. JP, I'm sure you're not an alien. Nice
No,
seeing
never.
you.
No, we want that on the record.
Yeah.
No one actually
JP
believes
is
that.
not an alien.
No. Shout out to JP, the grappler, Joe from the bridge, everyone behind the scenes, everyone for tuning in today. We appreciate it. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.